3, 2, 1, 0.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all. Welcome to Monday Night Nerd. How are you all doing today? My name is Corp Cosplay. If you're new here, welcome. If it's your first time, it means the world to me that you're here. Let's start from the beginning. My name is Corp Cosplay. I have been a cosplayer for over 10 years. I've been attending cons and volunteering at cons for about the same amount of time. And this is my show. I sit around here and I talk about nerdy things, nerdy cons, everything under the sun, wrestling, wrestling, movies, music. I'm so excited that I can't even talk. Tonight, we're here to talk about Anime North. Anime North was last weekend, and I'm super excited. Hang on, my phone is buzzing. There we go. Here we go. Let's kick things off with a little bit of news first, folks. I saw a couple movies. We're going to talk about those first before we jump into the Anime North stuff because it was actually a pretty fun weekend. If you weren't here last weekend, that's fine. I was not here last weekend either. I took the holiday off. I've noticed over the past few holiday Mondays, I've wanted to do a show because I figured people were free, but it seems like a lot of people are stupidly busy, which I completely understand. So going forward, if it's a holiday Monday, I'm probably not going to be doing a show. It allows you guys to enjoy your holiday. It allows me to enjoy my holiday. And I don't feel like I'm feeling pressure of having to do a show or anything like that. Saves time, saves everybody a headache. We're just going to wait. So last weekend was a miss. We're back here this week. Last weekend, I walked in and I watched two amazing movies. I sat back and I watched Godzilla vs. Kong and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Let's start off with a little bit of Godzilla. So Godzilla X Kong New Empire, I believe that's the title. I've seen so many ads for this, trailers for it. It's kind of weird. I felt like this was one of those movies that they were overhyping way too much. I really thought this was going to be one that if a studio doesn't feel like an audience really is going to stick around for this movie, if they're going to show up in droves, they hype the crap out of it. You see billboards everywhere, you see ads everywhere, and I saw tons of Godzilla Kong stuff, and I was a little worried, but I watched this movie, and I mainly watched this movie because my dog has anxiety when it comes to loud noises. So holiday weekend, there is thunder, and there was fireworks, which kind of sound like thunder to her. So I usually try and play a movie that has a little bit of loud sounds to it to try and drown out the fireworks. So I figured a movie about a giant lizard and a giant ape beating the crap out of each other was probably a great choice. And it appears it was, because she got through the whole movie, didn't have any anxiety during the entire movie, which was great. So what did I think about the movie? Well, let's start with a little bit of history. I have seen the last couple Godzillas. I saw Godzilla -1. The only one I've not seen was Kong Skull Island. It just didn't get to me. I enjoyed this one. I really did enjoy Godzilla X Kong. Honestly, I say it's probably one of the best Godzilla movies and Kong movies that I've seen in a while. A lot of people have the opinion of the humans don't matter. They need to just do these two big creatures beating the crap out of each other. And to be honest, I kind of felt that way until I saw Godzilla -1, and then I realized, oh, there is a way you can do humans and actually make it matter. This one had a couple characters, obviously it was familiar characters from this universe that were intertwined into the story, but I felt like they did focus a lot on the relationship, friendship, rivalry, whichever part it was in the movie, between Godzilla and Kong. And it really worked. There wasn't a ton of they have a problem in some of these movies where they have a human character kind of feed you what Godzilla and Kong or characters like them are thinking, sort of the he must be thinking this, but she must be thinking that. And it gets really derivative after a while. It gets really annoying because I can kind of pick up on the way their facial features are that Godzilla doesn't like Kong. I don't need someone to explain it. They didn't do that in this one. And I was really happy about that. I really got to sit back and watch the emotion that came out of the Kong character and Godzilla. Overall, this was a great movie. If you know me and you've known me for a while, I've been on the Geeks and Co podcast every Thursday night on YouTube on their channel. Recently, they did do an interview with the person who did the motion capture for Kong in Kong or Godzilla X Kong. It's a great interview. Go check it out on the YouTube Geeks and Co show, Geeks and Co Geek Boutique podcast on the Geeks and Co YouTube channel. It's a great interview. He did an amazing job. The motion capture was so good in this movie. It really makes me want to see where they're going to go with this. But yeah, great movie. Highly recommended if you're a fan of either franchise. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, this was another one that had a lot of baggage behind it. Hello, Rob, the bad guy, is in chat. He loves those Geeks and Co guys. Yes, he does. That might be because he is. Yes, as Alex said, Alan Hendry. Thank you. I could not remember the name. Yes, Alan Hendry was the person on the Geeks and Co show, and he did an amazing interview. I actually am going to go watch it again now that I've seen the movie, and so I can get a little more of that interview. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I am a Ghostbusters fan. I'm not a hardcore Ghostbusters fan. I did enjoy the first one. I don't mind the second one, and I did like the reboot. I will admit I did not see the remake, the one that everyone hates. I had seen so much criticism about this movie that this wasn't a Ghostbusters movie. This was a ripoff. That there was things, it just didn't feel like Ghostbusters. It felt like Ghostbusters to me. Now, was it the 1980s Ghostbusters? No, because you're never going to get that again because those people are no longer around. You know, you had Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray in it, and Ernie Hudson, which were great. I love Ernie Hudson. Ernie Hudson has been one of my favorite actors since I was a kid because I grew up with The Crow, and that's where I know him from, and Ghostbusters, but mostly The Crow. I thought it was fine. I do agree with a couple of the criticisms that said this was more like the Ghostbusters TV show, the real Ghostbusters, like the cartoon. I totally agree with that. I don't think that's a negative, though, because I enjoyed that cartoon. I know a lot of people did. I felt that the villain not being Gozer was great. That was probably the only criticism I have about the second movie was I feel like recycling that villain was just kind of not needed. I think you can come up with new villains. Freezing the entire city of New York City was a great call. I thought that was cool looking. Great special effects, great practical effects too. Seeing the practical effects of the villain was perfect. I think the kids are good. I do feel like they need to either pass the torch to them in the next one officially or don't and keep it with Paul Rudd as sort of the Ghostbuster and build a team like that. I feel like having them as sort of a secondary team in this one was kind of, I don't know. I didn't really like that part. I think they either go all in or not. But yeah, I think it was a great movie. It was short. It didn't take forever. I feel like they could have easily they didn't, but overall, I had no problem with it. I don't see what the problem is besides the people who just wanted to see the 1980s Ghostbusters. And if you want to do that, go watch the 1980s Ghostbusters because you're not getting it again, unfortunately. What else? Let's talk video games for a quick minute, and then we're going to jump into the Anime North review. Batman Arkham Knight. I've been talking the past couple weeks that I've been replaying this for the first time since it first came out many moons ago. I have now officially beat Arkham Knight. I have not finished the game officially. All I have to do now is just collect all the Riddler trophies. I did not collect the Riddler trophies back when my first playthrough. I just did not have the patience for it at that point. I will admit I'm kind of feeling the same way now. Going back to how I felt originally on this game, I do agree with a lot of people saying there is too much Batmobile. I didn't feel that way at the beginning, but once you get close to the end game, they really push the Batmobile down your throat. And the problem I realize with it is that they don't make it all Batmobile. They splice it in here and there. So you don't get enough of the controls and how the car moves and acts. You don't get enough of that to be comfortable with it. And then you go in the end game and it's all Batmobile. And then you have to sort of figure that out in real time without having a preconceived knowledge of how it flows and moves. So that's probably the biggest problem. I did have all the DLC. I played through that, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the Killer Croc stuff. I enjoyed the Mad Hatter stuff and the free stuff. Even though it was short, I did enjoy it. So yeah, I'm probably going to run through that, enjoy the rest of the Riddler challenges, take my time, not going to rush. And then next, I'm going to be jumping into Resident Evil Village. I am a big Resident Evil fan. I started on Res 2. I'm now going to jump into Resident Evil Village. I can't wait to play that. Or as I've been calling it to all my friends since I bought it, Resident Evil Boner, because that villain is every guy that wants a dominating woman seems to love that character. So I could just imagine what it's going to be like to play that. Just like, oh, every guy loves this scene, every guy loves that scene. But it's still going to be a fun game because I love Rez. That's all for the news. Not a lot has been going on because we've been getting ready for Anime North. Let's jump into that in 1 second. First, we have to talk about our sponsor. If you're new here, thank you so much for being here. Please hit the like button. Please like the video. It shows that you like knowing my opinion on cons. I've been going to cons for over a decade. I've been volunteering almost a decade too. It means that you like this stuff. It means I should keep doing it. I have a sponsor every single week, and that sponsor is my wife. She will always be my sponsor. Seriously, I would not be the person I am without her. She has changed me for the better, and this is not some big, spiritual thing or anything. It's just seriously, I seriously am a better person with her. I'm a very more positive person. I'm so much happier with her in my life. And it's not me sucking up. It's the absolute truth. So, hun, I love you. You will always be my sponsor. Let's talk about Anime North. A few of you in the chat were there this weekend. Alex was there. Edith, who is in the chat. Hello, Edith. You were in the chat as well. Rob, you were not there. However, your friends JS and Jeff were there. I ran into them on Friday. Let's talk about Anime North. So for those who don't know, for those who are watching this now or watching this later, what is Anime North? Well, Anime North started in Toronto in 1997. It is the largest anime convention in Ontario. It's held every year just outside Toronto at the Toronto Convention Center. And it is a non-for-profit con. So what does that mean? Well, that means that all the profits that are brought in from the con are given to charity, and some of it is held over to be used on the next con. Nobody at this con makes any profit off this. So if you think there's some big person above that is big corporate person who's heading this con, who's making a bunch of money off it, it's not. It's all fan run. It's all volunteer run. Nobody makes a profit off this. It either goes to charity or is put into an account, and it's going to the next year's con. Rob, you did show up. You were there on the Saturday. Wow. You were only there for 2 hours. Wow. You either didn't like it or you had something to do. I'm kidding. So how big is this con? Well, about 35,000 people attend every year. The con is pretty much built under 2 buildings. There's the South Building, which has a lot of vendor spaces, a lot of creator spaces, artist alley type areas. And then there's the North Building, and the North Building has a main stage. And this year, unlike other years, had a gaming area. Usually the gaming area is in the South Building, but this year they split it up and moved it to the North Building. We will talk more about that later. And also, let me take it that there's one more thing. There's a Delta Hotel just below it where a lot of people from the con stay. There's also panels and little rooms there too. So that is also a third venue. However, there was a lot of not just people going to the con, there was a lot of people hanging outside of the con. There's a lot of people who don't even get tickets to the con. They just hang outside, walk around, and all that stuff. Now, what do I do when I'm there? Do I just walk around and cosplay? Well, yes, but also I volunteer. My wife, her friends, and myself, we help run the audio video. What does that mean? Well, if you were part of the masquerade, if you went to a panel or something like that, the audio and video is us. We make sure it runs properly. When the masquerade is happening, we are doing audio cues, we're doing lighting cues, we're making sure all the video is recording your amazing performances. That is all on us. I've been doing that for about 7 years. My wife and her friends have been doing it for a lot longer. But I started getting into this when about 2018 was my first con. My wife asked, do I want to go? Because Anime North is very cosplay centric. It is very based around anime, gaming, and cosplay. And I got to be honest, I'm not an anime fan. I've never been an anime fan. I grew up with Pokemon, and because it was on during the lunchtime when I would come home for lunch from school, I watched Sailor Moon. Those are really the only two animes I grew up with. I didn't watch, Dragon Ball Z. I didn't watch insert other anime here that I honestly can't think of. So I never wanted to go to this con. It wasn't anything that I was really interested in. But once I started really getting into cosplay, she told me that this is something I should really be involved in because it's so cosplay centric. So finally I said yes. And I gotta admit, the first year I was shocked on how much I enjoyed it. And it wasn't the anime aspect. Because again, even after 7 years of doing this, I still don't have an anime thing. Like I don't now go, oh, I need to watch all these animes. I still am not an anime fan. I mean, like I'm a gaming fan. So if you count this as anime or manga, then yeah, that's what I'll read. But other than that, not much of my desire is to buy anything anime. But I do enjoy the community. There's a great community there. It really gives me vibes to when I used to go to Fan Expo back in 2009, before it became corporate. That's not the right word, but Fan Expo now, which was my first con back in 2009, has become very polished and corporate. There are great things about that. That is great when it comes to guests. That's great when it comes to security. That comes great when it comes to many, many aspects. However, I do like a little grittiness to my cons. I feel like if you polish something too much, it loses its luster. And I know it's complete different when it comes to the analogy, but I don't know. I feel like it loses something. It loses a little bit of personality. And I feel like Anime North because it's fan run and because it's non-for-profit, it really is able to hold that feeling together. There was a con back in the day, and I say back in the day, it was probably 2015, and it had to have happened a couple times, but we only went once, and it was a convention that they had was it the Science Center in Toronto or the ROM? One of them. And it wasn't Con Bravo. Con Bravo was great in Hamilton. It was in Toronto, and they had I think it was the Science Center, and they had an overnight con at the Science Center. You got everybody together, and we all hung out at the convention, at the Science Center at night in cosplay. And it was great. And you kind of felt like when the teachers gave you a little bit of freedom and you kind of got to go off on your own. That's how I feel in Anime North. I feel like there's a lot more freedom than just this little box that Fan Expo and other cons have to put you into. So that's my background on Anime North and what I've done and what my feelings on the general feeling of Anime North. And if you've never been to Anime North, I highly encourage you to at least check it out. Like I said, I'm not an anime fan. It's not all anime. I saw cosplayers as Batman. I saw cosplayers as Boba Fett. I saw cosplayers as video game Mario, Peach. I was Dan from Street Fighter. I was Darius from League of Legends. So don't feel like you have to be a hardcore anime fan to be a part of this, especially when it comes to cosplay. Wear whatever the hell you want, because that's what cosplay is all about. So let's jump into what the weekend was like for me. So the con ran Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday was the first day, and I didn't get there till late. I didn't get there till 5. I did work a half day. I got home, and I really wanted to make sure everything was good at home because my wife didn't go this year. Let me point that out. My wife usually comes, but because we just came back from Europe, we didn't want to give our dog up to my mom again, so close. So we felt like that was a little bit of irresponsible as an animal owner. So my wife decided to stay home. Plus, other volunteers around that we know also have animals that needed to be looked after while we all went to the con. So my wife took it upon herself to graciously go take care of those animals while we all went. So it was weird not having her there, but she made that decision and everyone appreciates her for it. So we usually end up going later in the day because we both end up working, but because I only took a half day, I decided I'm just going to come home, make sure everything's good at home before I take off. I was going to wait until 5, but because the Lincoln Alexander Parkway was closed, traffic was a nightmare going to the convention center. I actually ended up going through Burlington across the lift bridge. However, the lift bridge was at a complete standstill, so I had to backtrack and go over the Skyway Bridge. And going back and going up actually saved me 2 minutes, which is scary because I have to backtrack about 5 minutes to get back up. So that's how bad the traffic was. And I was saying to people at the con, it was very fun driving towards Toronto and having my phone here showing me the directions and seeing the how long until you get there timer going down, but seeing the arrival time going up. That means that you're going to hit a massive wall that's at a standstill, and that standstill is getting bigger and bigger. And that's exactly what happened on the other side of the Ford plant. But I did end up getting there at not a bad time. Thankfully, my stuff was all later in the day, so I really didn't have anything to desperately get there early. Getting there was great. Once we got there, I was able to do a quick look around. We talked about earlier, they had moved the gaming area from the south building up into the north building, which I think was a great call. Whoever decided on that was a genius. That opened up the convention so much. The south building is sort of broken up into 3 areas. There is the Crafters Corner area, then there's a couple of divider walls, and then there's the vendors, a couple of walls, and then there's the gaming area. And it was so nice having that gaming area up in the north building because it broke people out. But also with the north building, there was usually one door that everyone would use, and that was the main door that would take you to the main stage. But because the gaming area was off to the side, you had a second door that you could go to, which made the flow of traffic work so much better. I was so happy with that. Also, the gaming area had a ton of room, so you had a lot of free air. It wasn't like Fan Expo, where it could get like this, even on a Saturday. Just checking my notes here quickly. So that was my first day. Went through that. The only thing I had to work that night was Anime Hell. If you've never been to Anime North, Anime Hell is kind of a staple for the con. It's been there for years. I wish I remembered the individual's name, but what he does is he sort of gets an hour worth of weird anime, funny clips from anime and retro cartoons and all that, and kind of puts them together into a big compilation video that's about an hour long. He usually does an amazing job. I've been doing that. That's kind of been my thing every single year. He's usually got 1 or 2 things in there that almost make me fall over laughing, either as a memory from when I was a kid to just hilarious. There is one here that I will not do enough. I can't do it credit, but we were honestly falling over with how funny it was. We can't tell if it was a parody or if it was real, but it was a PSA about kids playing video games in like the 80s. But they shot it like a drug PSA, and we were falling over laughing. It was following a little kid, and it had the narrator voiceover of Timmy wants to go to an arcade. Timmy wants to do nothing else but play Pac-Man. And it was done so convincingly that they were serious. We were falling over. They had a girl, she was a child, and they had her dressed up sort of like an escort, and she's like, she wasn't trying to take people back. She was like, she was trying to give quarters away and stuff, and the kid was going up trying to get quarters like a drug dealer. And the ending was him walking away and they into an alleyway, and they do a pause, and it comes over the voiceover saying 4 days after this was shot, Timmy got hit by a milk truck because he was going to an arcade. If he wasn't going to an arcade, it would have saved his life. And we just fell over laughing. It was so good. He also did a comparison between what cartoons were like in Canada and what cartoons were like in Japan every year. So he started in like 88 and worked his way like 88, 90, 92 every other year. And it was pretty funny seeing like little tree bears in Canada, and then it's like Evangelion big robot guys slicing people in half in Japan. It was a pretty funny contrast, and even no matter how far it got pushed for Canada, it was like every year it just got bloodier and bloodier in Japan. But yeah, it was really funny. I really enjoyed doing that. I wish I could remember his name. I think he's on YouTube. I think he throws them on YouTube after the con. But yeah, great time. And that was kind of it. That's usually a late night for me. The con usually runs till about 11, 12 o'clock at night. He's usually a 10 to 11:30. The con doesn't really end though, because everybody's outside. There's a rave going on every year outside on both Friday and Saturday nights. When we left, it was still bopping. There's cars everywhere. There's people hanging out. There's people cosplaying still. It goes till 1, 2 in the morning sometimes. I've never been to a rave because I'm not a rave guy, but it always is packed there. That was my Friday. Friday was pretty simple, pretty easy. Saturday, we ran into a bit of a problem. Saturday, it rained, and that is the first time in 7 years that it has rained on a Saturday. Hell, all weekend at Anime North. It was kind of upsetting because I know a lot of people use their Saturday to bring up their big cosplays, and it was pouring enough that it was kind of impossible if you didn't want to not get soaked. I had a photo shoot booked with my favorite photographer, Tyrone Islington Photography, and I was dressed as Dunk Master Darius from League of Legends. If you don't know the story behind this skin, there's a character called Darius. He is the general of an army, and in the game, he has a big giant axe, and when he jumps up in his finishing move as he slashes down, people used to say he looked like he was dunking a basketball, and the developers said, well, we have to do a basketball version of him, and this is basically it. He, instead of a giant shield, he has a big axe. He has a big basketball net that he uses, and it is my favorite skin. I don't play League of Legends like I used to. When I first met my wife, she was really into League of Legends, and I started to. So this was my first character, my first favorite skin. So I took him out. I was so happy to finally get a shoot with him. I saw the previews of some of the photos. They are really good. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I can't wait to see what Tyrone does with the edits. Justin Smith says in chat, hopefully no rain for Niagara Falls Comic-Con. I hope not. It has rained a couple times there. It hasn't been too bad. Thankfully, a lot of Niagara Falls is inside, so that makes things real easy. As long as you can get in the building, it's okay. Anime North, a lot of it is outside. A lot of people just hang out outside, so that was the biggest problem. So we did the photo shoot. It was at there's an under construction, not used car park behind the hotel, which was great. A lot of cosplayers go there for their photos. We hopped over there, did a quick shoot. I wanted to walk around some more, but unfortunately, it just wasn't going to work with the weather. So I went back to the hotel and changed, just hung out there for a few minutes, and then went over and started shopping and met up with some friends. Edith in chat, she was there with her amazing stepdaughter. I finally met her. She was beautiful as well. We just talked, hung out, had a great time. They ended up taking off early. Then I went shopping at the booths, and I gotta admit, I have usually not done a ton of shopping at Anime North. As I said earlier, I'm not a big anime fan, so it's really selective. There is usually a booth that has art books and sort of, like I said, the Street Fighter style anime, manga, I guess you want to call it, comic books, for a really good deal. I've also picked up Darksiders, which is a game I like. I've got a couple art books from them and other Street Fighter stuff and, Mega Man and stuff like that. They didn't have any of that this year. The booth that usually has that had a lot of regular manga. They didn't have a lot of the stuff that I liked, which was kind of frustrating, but kind of not because I got to save money. So yeah, I really didn't buy a lot. The booths that I did go to, I wasn't too pleased with the pricing. It was a lot of people selling stuff at cost or what it would normally be at retail, which I completely understand if you're a vendor and you want to make a profit on it. But I don't need a lot of that stuff, so I'm mostly looking for deals. There was definitely one person that was there was definitely somebody who was working one of the gaming tables and was selling video games. I walked up and wanted to possibly pick up 2 games, but none of them had prices on them. And there was a guy next to me and he was looking at one and he asked the guy, "What's the price for this?" And instantly the guy drops the game on the counter and pulls out his phone. And I went, you're pulling out your phone and going to eBay. And that kind of took me a moment. I'm like, oh, you're just looking for whatever the top price is. So that was a little frustrating. Rob the Bad Guy in chat. I took my family for the purpose of shopping and was able to score a bunch of stuff I haven't been able to find out. That's cool. I'm glad you were able to pick up some stuff. Like I said, with a lot of stuff that I can find at cons, I usually can find it multiple times. A lot of the booths are the same booths over and over again. I've seen every retro toy I've ever wanted, and I've kind of seen it so much that I don't need to own it. So I don't really buy a ton. But yeah, I did find a couple small things, but not enough that I was willing to, part ways in my cash. My wife and I have a very good rule that I tell anybody that is trying to struggle, is having to drop. Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Let's try that again. My wife and I have a rule when it comes to money. If you're struggling with spending and such, we always tell each other, would you rather have the item or the dollar amount that it costs? So if I was standing in front of you with 2 items, the item you want, or say it was $20, a $20 bill, which one would you rather have? And that's how we kind of know which one. Rob says also paid stupid prices though. Yeah, and that's what I kind of ran into, was there was only a few small deals that I was really wanting to jump on, but even that, it wasn't anything that was like I need to pick this up. It was more of a maybe, and never really did. So yeah, walked around, met some amazing cosplayers. I went back after doing a quick shop and threw on the cosplay because at that point around 3:00 the rain had stopped, which was great. Threw on Darius, walked around outside, met some cosplayers, met some friends, just yacked. It was really good. Got some great photos from people. A lot of great reactions on the cosplay. It is something that I really enjoy doing, is characters that a lot of people know but don't cosplay. Darius, one of them. The Sunday character is the exact same. So a lot of groups will come over and be like, "Oh, we need a character for our group. Let's bring you in." And I don't feel like, and to be completely frank and honest, if I find somebody who's doing the exact same costume as I am just ripping through their costume going, "You've probably done it 1,000 times better than me. I feel like I haven't put enough effort into it. And I know I shouldn't do that as a cosplayer, but I do. So part of the reason I picked these odd characters is because of that reason. It is my own pain in the butt anxiety. Um, but yeah, it was great seeing everybody. It was great getting some pictures. I did end up going back to the hotel, doing a quick change because it was time for the masquerade. Saturday night's masquerade was a lot of fun. This was one of the first times I've not been a part of the masquerade since I started going. I've always tried to do a costume for the masquerade. However, because of many different factors, I did not have one that was completely handmade, or for the most part handmade. The goal was to have Princess Kenny done. However, as you've heard on the podcast before, trying to do that stuff and trying to learn to sew and trying to get all that little detail stuff was just too much for me. It was too much of a struggle, too much of a rush. So I had to put on the back burner. So I ended up working tech. I ended up working the audio for the masquerade. And it was fun, but I also really felt like I was missing out. Let's talk about the masquerade for a quick second. It was the cosplays were incredible as always. If you've never been to a masquerade, if you don't understand the whole concept of the masquerade, the nerves that you go through to get yourself on stage in a cosplay is so big. Like there are so much nerves, just anxiety to get on stage and show off your art. It's crazy. And though you shouldn't, because we were all there to support you, it happens to me too. It is a nerve-wracking situation. So anybody that goes up on that stage deserves so much applause and praise for doing it. Especially when we had two tech issues. We had two audio problems with two contestants, and that was frustrating for me being the person running the audio, but also knowing what it was probably like being on stage and having that happen. It wasn't our fault. And I'm not saying that it was their fault. It wasn't their fault either. It was just tech did not work the way we had planned. We had prepped it, and the files did not work properly once we pressed play. We were able to get them running later. The same contestants came out later in the show and were able to do their entire skit, which I was so happy to see. There was only 56 entries. I know they were wanting to max at 80, which is where I became kind of frustrated with myself because I didn't want to. I could have always done Darius on stage. It wasn't a full made costume, but if you want to perform just for the sake of performing, they will let you up there, but they will make sure that the people who are building their costumes, for the most part, get priority over you. I didn't want to possibly take a spot away. I didn't want to. I know the people who sort of run the masquerade, not really, but they kind of know me as a volunteer. I didn't want to possibly get a privilege of, well, let's get him up there. So I just said not to do it, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't do it. I thought the masquerade went great. I thought there was so many good cosplays, so many good skits. I have heard post-con last night that I didn't mean to do that. Throwing stuff. I did hear post-con last night that there were some issues when it came to awards. The awards ceremony was the next day. I had heard from someone who was there that several cosplayers were upset, that they felt some cosplayers, while great cosplayers in their own right, received awards that they shouldn't, and others possibly should have won those. I don't know all the details. I wasn't there for the awards ceremony the next day. I don't know how accurate it is. I do trust this person as they are there, and I've never had to doubt what they've said in the past. So I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that I'm telling you anything that's not the truth, but that's what I've heard. I've heard that it was a very rough room to hear all those awards, and there was a lot of people upset. I know Fan Expo has had issues in the past when it comes to awards and not maybe realizing things that other people who aren't. Let me try to explain this without. I don't want to single anybody out because I can and I don't want to. There are people who have done the masquerade multiple times in succession and won an award and then tweaked their cosplay a little bit and won an award the next year. And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to have a completely new costume, or at least for the most part. It's Edith in chat says that's such a difficult subject, though. Obviously, some people have access to more resources than others, and my logo's covering it, which is fine. But how to categorize that without discouraging people? You can't. Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of. I don't have all the details. I wasn't there, so but from what I've heard, I'm not going to single out who said this or whatever, but from what I'd heard, basically the people who won craftsmanship awards should have won stage awards, and the stage awards should have won craftsmanship, is what I heard. So whether that was a judging problem, whether that was something else, I don't know. But that's what I was told. I was told that it seemed that the people who did amazing performances won craftsmanship stuff, which is how you built the costume, and the people who won the craftsmanship awards won stage awards for the performance. Again, this is all I've heard. Whether that is what happened or not, I don't know. But I know some cosplayers are talking about it. So we'll see what happens about that. It sucks when that's what happens. It sucks when, not just stuff like that happens, but just having people upset at the end of the con. I've been that person. I was like that last year at Fan Expo, being a member of the audience and just seeing how the masquerade went. It is something I have a lot of passion for because I've done it so many times, and I have a really big problem with being the person who sees the landmines coming, and people tell me I shouldn't care about those little things, but I do because I've been that person. And yeah, anyways, that's too much negative stuff. Let's get back into the positive side. I hope it's all worked out in the end. I hope everybody comes back and performs next year and does the masquerade, because I'm telling you, there were some amazing performances and some amazing cosplays, and I think they did a great job personally. And I think if they could give everybody awards, they would, but they unfortunately can't. So Sunday, let's jump into Sunday. That was it for Saturday. There wasn't much else after the masquerade. Just kind of went back and went to bed. Sunday was the last day. It was interesting. So Sunday was another cosplay. I was able to do a second cosplay with a different photographer. I was Dan from Street Fighter. I love Dan. Dan is sort of the Johnny Cage of Street Fighter. He is a big goofball, and he isn't extremely tough, but he's so fun to play. I love him. I finally was able to get this wig working after so much work. He's got a little curl thing that comes off the end. But yeah, that was the cosplay for the day. It's also a very comfy cosplay, which is nice. Started out the day with just packing and everything, getting ready because we had to check out from the hotel. My wife ended up showing up, which was nice. She was in Toronto to pick up some stuff. So she stopped by the con and we were able to hang out. We went shopping a bit. She bought a bunch of stuff. She is an anime fan. She picked a bunch of arts and craft stuff from the Artist Alley, bunch of stickers, bunch of pins, bunch of all that stuff. She usually doesn't buy a bunch, but she went nuts this year. The crafters corners and the artists this year, usually they have it broken up. So usually the crafters and do pins and buttons, all stuff are kind of in one section, and the people that do prints are kind of in another section. It appears that everybody's kind of doing everything now. So everybody was kind of intermingled with everything, which was kind of nice because you were able to kind of flow properly and not feel like you're just pushed on one side or the other. Um, it was a great it was great walking around seeing the independent artists with my wife. Like I said, she loves all that stuff. We walked around a bit, and then after that, she had to duck out. She had to get back to the city. Um, she had to get back to the city, and I was kind of left on my own again. She left me all alone, and I survived, funny enough. And I ended up doing a photo shoot. I ended up doing a photo shoot with Matt Burnip. He's an Instagram. He's on Instagram. He had a contest a few weeks ago for a free photo shoot, and I entered and I won. So I had a free photo shoot with him, and it was great shooting with him. You should check him out on Instagram. He does a lot of cosplay photo shoots. He's in the Toronto, Etobicoke area. Great working with him. Very different style than Tyrone, which was nice. It's going to be nice to see the different types of photos. I pretty much pulled my groin doing a sidekick. It was really interesting because you kind of sit there and I'm like, I'm 36, but I'm still athletic. I haven't done karate in like 20 years. And I was like, let's do a sidekick photo. And I threw my leg up and my groin just went, what the hell are you doing? You're not Chuck Norris. Put your damn leg down. And I just felt everything pull. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I just didn't get in shot. Let's try it again. Throw another one, pulls even more. By like the fourth one, I'm like just kind of throwing my body and like heel kicking in the air and not really getting any height. And he's like, I think we're done. I'm like, I think I'm done. So yeah, I'm not 18 anymore. I'm 36. So yeah, no sidekicks for a little while until I do a little more stretches. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with him. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do a full shoot with him. I know we could have gone a little longer, but I had to get back and do my last bit of work before the con ended. And that was the 404s. If you don't know what the 404s are, they are an improv group who are at Anime North and travel all across the country. And they do very nerdy improv. They had 3 shows, I believe, 1 per day at Anime North this weekend. I've seen them several times. I usually end up working one of their shows. And over the past couple years, some of their team has moved on, whether that is just retirement because they have other things in their life, whether, whatever the reason. This appeared to be a new group for the most part. And I feel like they need a little more time working with each other to kind of get the feel of what each one's specialty is. If you've ever done improv, you kind of know who does what best. If you ever watch a show like Whose Line Is It Anyway, you know that Colin and Ryan kind of do those pairing things here and there because they bounce off each other. Drew Carey or whoever the host is sort of has their role in it. What's his name? I can't remember. Who does a lot of the singing? He does a lot of the singing. So I feel like the group needs a little bit of that. They kind of need to do a couple more reps to sort of get that feel of whose specialty is what. Because the audience just didn't seem into it. It seemed like they were a little flat. It could have been because it was the last thing before the end of the con and everyone was just tired. But I had seen them get a lot better reaction, and this one just didn't get it. Again, nothing that they did wrong. I know they did their best. They always do their best. I just felt like because it's a new crew, there's a little bit of kinks that need to be worked out in it. And that was about it. The drive home was great. Thankfully, getting out of there was not that bad. There was a lineup like crazy, but I was able to sort of wiggle my way in and got home. So overall score, what's my thoughts on Anime North 2024? I would give Anime North 2024 a 6. I would give it a 6 out of 10. It was not the best Anime North I've been to. It is probably the worst, and it's not the worst in like, oh my God, it's the worst con, don't go. I just feel like over the past couple years, it's been better. The highlights are always the cosplay. The layout of the venue is so much better, having the gaming in the north building and allow for a little more airflow and arm room in the south building. Also, security seemed a lot better this year. I know at almost every con, Fan Expo, Niagara Falls, they can get really picky after a while, and they can become a sort of a detriment to the con. I don't feel like they hit it this year. I don't remember hearing anything about security kind of being overbearing and over security about everything. If I ever did get stopped with my staff badge, it was because they didn't read it properly. But as soon as they saw I was staff, they ran in. They let me through. It was no problem. Low lights, the masquerade winter issues. If that is true, that is a big problem. I hate hearing that cosplayers had a bad time at a con. The rain on Saturday was probably the biggest. That is probably the biggest damper, and there's nothing you can really do about that. That's just weather. But that is a damper when Saturday's the big day and a lot of it's outdoors and you can't really bring out the big gun cosplays. And no good deals. Like I said, there was not a lot of stuff that made me go, I need to buy this for the price that it is. It was a lot of the same vendors and a lot of high price stuff. As Rob said in chat, there were some stupid prices on things. And unless you needed to get it and were willing to pay that price, it just wasn't worth it. Will I be going back to Anime North? 100%. I will be there next year, and I will hopefully, knock on wood, will have a cosplay ready to go, built and ready to go for the masquerade. It's definitely something I need to do. I really felt like I missed out this year. Even if I don't win an award, like that is the least of my concerns. Like, I love having those 3 awards up there, and we've got some ribbons and stuff from Anime North. My wife has one as well. She used to cosplay. But those don't matter to me. Like, it really is. I just love performing. I love being that schmuck on stage, jumping around in cosplay. If you could let me do that for an hour, I'd probably jump at it. But yeah, I'm excited to go back. I can't wait to see what comes out next year, what cosplays everybody has. When it comes to cons, in 2 weeks, it will be Niagara Falls Comic-Con. It will be Niagara Falls Comic-Con again. I will be volunteering. I will not be cosplaying. I will be working with the celebrities as always. So if you are in the Niagara area and you will be at the con, swing by. If you check out their floor plan, they have redone the floor plan. If you've been before, it is a new layout this year. The celebrity autographs are in their own specific room. So make sure to check out the floor plan on the website to see how everything looks. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool having everything sort of together in that area, and then sort of have vendors and everything else in another area. After that, I will probably be going to Forest City Comic-Con in London. I can't remember what weekend that is. I believe that's in a couple weekends. Let me pull up the handy dandy calendar. I don't have it here. I swear I put it in here. 16th. Yeah, the 16th. 16th is Forest City Comic-Con. I will be there on one of the days. I can't remember if it's a Saturday or Sunday. I know it's a one-day con. But yeah, I will be stopping in there. And other than that, that's kind of all that's been going on right now. Next week, we'll have a brand new show. I'm going to hopefully have a guest. The guest I've been trying to get has been super busy. I was able to talk to her at Anime North, but hopefully I can get her to swing by one night and we can shoot and talk about 3D printing. Because, folks, 3D printing is getting big. And you know how I know it's getting big? Because I'm getting my second 3D printer in a couple days. A good friend of mine who is in chat, Alex, is upgrading his, and he graciously gave me a friends and family discount. So I will be getting my second 3D printer, which will make Mr. Judge Dredd go a little quicker and hopefully have him ready for Fan Expo. But folks, it has been a great night. I will leave you with an extra few minutes left in your night. I don't think there's anything else. Give me one quick second. I know we haven't been here in a few weeks, so I'm just trying to remember if there's anything I should let you guys know about. I'm hopefully going to be live in the next few days doing some cosplaying. Actually, let me tell you one quick thing. I had a couple people at Anime North talk about Gambit and how they can't wait to see my Gambit. I can wait to see my Gambit. I know everyone is excited about Gambit. However, I think Gambit is going to take a pause. Uh, Not that I have anything wrong with Gambit. I do not like my coat. I looked at it over the weekend, last weekend when I was before the show last week, and I do not like the coat I have. The coat that I had and I've used for Gambit in the past is more of a coat that Hush would wear from the DC comics. It's not a Gambit coat, and I know the amount of work I will have to do to make it a Gambit coat is not enough. I don't have enough time to do it. I don't have enough time to source it. So I am going to put a pause on Gambit, but that does not mean I will not be doing an X-Men for Fan Expo. I will definitely be bringing up an X-Men, and that will be Cyclops. I will be definitely bringing Cyclops into Fan Expo 2024. He will probably be my Friday. I will be doing the Ultimates version. Blue spandex does not look good on me, so I'm going to be doing black. I'll be doing the Ultimates version. I've always loved that look. I think it's a great look for him, so I'll be doing that version. But yeah, I think that's it for the night. Come down and I'll help. Crystal, I would love, if you want to build me, you've got enough on your plate, but I would love for you to build me a giant leather trench coat and not have to pay for it. That's the key part. I can probably source the Gambit coat. I just don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay that price. But yeah, that's sort of what's happening right now. Hopefully this week I will be live on Instagram, working on some cosplay stuff. Haven't really been able to do much right now just because Anime North was last weekend. But again, I will leave you guys with an extra few minutes tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit all that stuff to tell me that you liked this video, that you want to see more of this. Even when the video's done, as soon as this video's done, reset your window and start commenting. Tell me if you liked it. Tell me what you want to know for next year. I've got Niagara Falls coming up next year. I'll be doing next 2 weeks. I'll have Niagara Falls Comic Con and I'll be doing a review for that. But everyone, have yourself a great night. I love you all. It means so much to me that you're here. I will see you all next week for a brand new episode of Monday Night Nerd. Have a great week. I'll see you soon. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.